Hello everyone, Sable back with another Week 4 set from Uber's Premier League. This time it's Unowndragon versus BeeOrSomething, and B has been on a bit of a tough streak with some tough luck costing some games. I do think some of them there were some mistakes made from being newer to the tier, but hopefully going to turn that 0-3 around starting right here. Unowndragon I think has been doing relatively well. I want to say it was like 2-1 or 1-2 at this point, so I'm not sure which, and obviously there's a bit of a difference between winning record and losing record, but we'll hop right into it and see how this one goes. So, Gengar lead, Tauros lead, again, and as I've mentioned in previous weeks, so you can stay in or you can switch out on the Gengar side, and on Bull side you might consider not Earthquaking because of Egg coming in, and there comes the Egg, but I think after you get that first Earthquake on Gengar, you probably just Earthquake again and confirm it, and then follow up by hitting the Egg. So this Bull getting some good solid early damage before getting slept. Pretty expected outcome of these kind of early game starts. Gar Egg doesn't say too much about this team yet, but I'm sure whatever comes next will say more. Chansey coming in, and now you have to play a bit around booms. Going to Mewtwo to kind of mid-ground between boom or no boom. And now probably going to double back into Chansey. Yep. Chansey coming in, Mewtwo comes in, pretty good chance to get a free sleep click. Maybe T-Waves if he's feeling brave to try to take out the Gengar before clicking sleep, but here stays in, calling that the Gengar is probably just going to Nightshade, expecting Mewtwo to come back in, or double out, but gets the Sing off. Now this is very risky staying in here. It only takes a couple hits to take out this Gengar from here, so B probably going to hit it once at some point in here, and then T-Wave the switch. B just not biting on it, willing to keep clicking T-Wave until this wakes up. So B's... Okay, so there's the Seismic Toss finally, and now surely going to T-Wave. There's no downside. Even if the Gengar wakes up, you T-Wave it immediately and threaten to KO it. And now this Egg's also under threat, so Chansey probably might stay in and just push, but actually going to Bull, trying to call a boom. Now surely going to just go back. Wow, staying in. So staying in, Unowndragon predicting the switch back, but Bull being awake is really good here because any damage on Egg is really good, but critical hit, Body Slam takes it out, and now this is really bad for Unowndragon. So saving that, going to a presumably T-Wave Mew. Amnesia from the Mewtwo doesn't really reveal set, but Unowndragon likes Amnesia, Ice Beam, Psychic, Recover. Amnesia T-Wave suggests maybe Blizz Boom, but we'll see soon. Getting away with some free turns here, probably the T-Wave going to come now. So Gar Egg lacks T-Wave Mewtwo, doesn't say too much, but that's if this is a boom Mewtwo, this does a lot of boom spam, which could be a Slowbro or Articuno win con. Maybe a physical Mew win con, but I don't think there's enough paralysis spread shown for that, so you probably need one more para spread or like a Zapdos if that's the case. On B side, decent bit of physical offense. If this is a T-Wave Mewtwo, then that's like 3 T-Wave supports and then some physical offense. Last Mon, hard to clock here, but seeing that Tauros lead and Chansey and Rhydon makes me think it could be another Cloydon team. If this is Cloydon, really don't love it, but we'll see. And I think he might have run Barrier 2 on Cloydons, in which case, like, that should be good against Unowndragon's typical brings, but I don't like the Chansey Cloydon part of it. So we'll see what happens. Going to Chansey, Ice Beam coming in. So I already do not like that this is Amnesia, Thunderwave, Ice Beam. This is a total pace mismatch. Ice Beam is I want to go slow and freeze fish, which I think is just not very good outside of Barrier 2 sets. Putting Ice Beam and Thunderwave on the same set like this is, I think, not coherent. You don't do enough damage. Even after you T-Wave things, you're just going to get boomed out, and your Mewtwo's not going to get enough value for that. Blizzard gives you better odds to break things. It gives you better odds to put things in boom range when they're boosting up in front of you. Amnesia, Thunderwave, Ice Beam, and presumably last is Recover, because I assume if you're running Ice Beam, you probably want Recovery and not Boom. It's just, I don't think it's right. You can run a different attacking move if you really want PP. You could run T-Bolt and accept that you're walled by Rhydon. I don't know, just you could run Psychic and force things in without being walled so you can T-Wave them, but I just don't think Ice Beam is it. So because of that, just going to keep getting forced out, and B going to slowly rack up chip. If there's a cloister, I'd expect it to come soon. Actually, I guess with Chansey on Snorlax, you probably just sit here and force it to boom. Yeah, I think B, after seeing that Mewtwo set, is not very scared of it. And the fact that B is not scared of it actually tells me this almost certainly is the Cloister last, and just like laughing off the possibility of this Mewtwo doing anything because you wall it forever with Cloister. So yeah, I think there's no reason for B not to just sit here with Chansey, heal up whenever it gets hit, and slowly Seismic Toss the Snorlax until it clicks Boom. Maybe if you're feeling a little bit cheeky, you might go to Rhydon on the Boom turn and try to call it, or sack the Tauros, either or. But for now, there's not really much reason not just sit here and soft boiled up. I don't think there's much of a threat, even if this does boom. And now gonna get a Seismic Toss turn in. 3 of those to go for Snorlax to go down. You could just recover up and then go to the Tauros. But going to Rhydon here and calling the boom, getting crit, unfortunately, that sucks. But I think like this Rhydon's done enough to win this game, given the Mewtwo being such a passive, undamaging set. Like, look at that. Critical hit Ice Beam. If that was a crit Blizzard, this Mew was in danger. And now it's just not, and it's going to get the T-Wave. I think you should have T-Waved there, not soft-boiled. You can recover this later, you have a Chansey, but you need that T-Wave to hold this down. And now this Mewtwo doesn't seem like any threat at all. I feel like you just... Okay, so that might be Boom? Or just might... Yeah, okay. I think B maybe miscounted on the speed, and I thought for a second that maybe B was right and I was wrong because of the Swords Dance, but no. And now here's Cloister. This could be 2 attacks Mewtwo, but I feel like 2 attacks Ice Beam, Thunder Wave, Amnesia is just not coherent, so it probably is Mono Ice, and this Cloister just wins. So gonna go for the Clamp Down first, but if Recover gets revealed, then there's not really much reason for Cloister to do anything but sit here on it and PP stall by going back and forth between it and Chansey a little bit. You can try to catch a T-Wave with Chansey as well, block the freeze odds entirely, but I don't think you care that much if Chansey gets frozen at this point. It's done plenty. So we might be here for a little bit. The Cloister still faster thanks to the reapply, so maybe that's what B was angling for, reapplying Swords Dance so that even after this... Okay, also my brain is resetting from the fact that this is self-destruct and not recover. Amnesia, T-Wave, Ice Beam, Self-Destruct. Why isn't it Blizzard then? This is so... Unowndragon mystifies me sometimes. I have no clue what the point of this set is. It's just Mewtwo with even less killing power for no reason. Used 5 Ice Beams, so like why wasn't this Blizzard? Anyway, Cloister did exactly what Cloister was meant to do. It's still out of range of most things, so you probably just rip the boom right away. And Unowndragon baiting the boom doesn't probably be did boom because it's positionally correct, even if the Gengar comes in. So free setup turns for Mewtwo. If this is Barrier 2, which I think B and someone else have run this exact team multiple times, it is Barrier 2, this is over. Unowndragon running some Mew set that doesn't have any damage either, so this is going to die. The fact that this isn't like Hyper Beam Earthquake Mew with T-Wave support, or another like T-Wave Boom Mew with a Wind Con in back like Kuno or Slowbro is very odd to me. I don't understand the point of team building like this. Not to be like, I realize sometimes in these videos I'm very critical and I say things like, I don't get this, I think this team isn't good, I don't think this idea is coherent. I don't mean anything mean by it. I just think sometimes people kind of load teams of Pokemon they like without thinking all the way through the sets. Or they like make an edit. I used to do this a lot where I'd make an edit to a team where I'd change one mon out and not really change the sets and not think about why my sets are the way they are. So here, like we've seen the Garag Kuno, we've seen this kind of core multiple times, but where's the support? This Mewtwo doesn't do any damage. This Mew, I guess, is Swords Dance, Body Slam, Earthquake, Soft Boiled, because what else could it be if it's clicking Body Slam? There's not any support here. You've got like 1.5 paralysis spreaders between the two of these. You've got absolutely nothing at all for Cloister Like, this is walled by Cloister, this loses to Cloister, this loses to Cloister most of the time, this Mew set with no damage loses to Cloister. Like, you have very little way through Chansey, it's just the Snorlax booming. You have, like, a 0 for Starmie. I don't know, like, it's a Kuno on a team that can't take out any Kuno checks. This 53% paralyzed Cloister is gonna wall it, this Barrier 2 is just gonna straight up kill it in a couple of hits. Like, the out here is for Unowndragon to freeze this, to repeatedly hit Cloister and not have it break through and rest, to break the Chansey with a crit Hyper Beam, I guess, because the Mewtwo would be frozen in that case. I just don't understand how this Kuno was ever supposed to win this game. Just setting up agility for, I would say, no reason. There's no para threat here except the Chansey, which is slower than you. Doesn't really matter. Like, ultimately, you're getting the same number of chances to freeze the Mewtwo, and you're still going to lose, even if you do freeze it. So, Barrier 2 cleans up. Ultimately, like, I have my criticisms of this whole Chansey Cloydon idea, but the Cloister part of it and the Chansey part of it actually go really well into Unowndragon's really passive teams. So, like, that part of support, I don't know if I love the ride on this, but I understand, like, if you have the Cloister and the Chansey, you kind of want to close up the coverage triangle with this. But I don't know. I think, like, at least T-Wave on Mew definitely is a good pairing with this ride-on and Cloister. And Barrier 2, like, always has potential to win the game versus people who aren't respecting it enough, which it seems like half of the player pool in UPL has not been respecting it, given how some of these games are going. But I think there are better ways to use these mons than this specific set of 6. But ultimately, my criticisms here are way more aimed at Unowndragon's teams. I just think that this is not a coherent team of 6. I think it's a bunch of Pokemon kind of slapped together without considering what sets are going to better support each other. So ultimately, B had the team builder advantage from the very beginning and should have won that, and did pretty handily. So on to game 2, and if that team builder advantage comes up again, then this one's going to be a quick one. Hypno lead, so B getting a little out there now. Wonder if this will trade T-Waves or go for the Hypnosis, and it goes for Hypnosis and hits. I do wonder what B is setting up here, and I think another Barrier 2 would never be a bad call. I think a couple people like Unowndragon kind of leave themselves open to it a lot. And wearing this down, unfortunate that it wakes up so quickly, but you got some pretty good damage and you should 1v1 this from here by just attacking it. And nice crit gives Hypno more of an advantage here, and now it's a pretty big threat. Zap plus D-Knight from Unowndragon. So a lot of para spreading would seem to suggest some kind of win con, like a Hyper Beam Earthquake Mew, like set up like that, maybe a Tauros. Ultimately, I'm expecting at least 2 more T-Waivers and some kind of physical sweep threat. And be willing to just sit with Hypno and see if a miss comes through, and it does, and now I think B is really ahead. Dragonite's eventually going to paralyze and get Psychic, and if that drops it, then this is super over. Going to Snorlax, trying to threaten Hyper Beam here. But pretty hard to click with 5 full unrevealed Mons, and B just content to keep pushing damage. B's gotten plenty out of this Hypno, there's probably still an egg behind it. So, like, you don't need it to get the sleep. And there goes Egg, now threatening. You probably click Psychic here. Yeah, pretty free Psychic. This D-Knight isn't much of a threat. I'm sure there's something on this team that can absorb Para, or you just keep pushing it with Egg. And after that Para, there's a chance this gets KO'd. Doesn't roll that high this time. And no drop, so this D-Knight would have been faster if it T-Waved, but ultimately just choosing a Blizzard for damage. And go to Eggy on the next Psychic, so trying to minimize the damage, but I think it's a bit late to be doing that. Like, maybe just go to Egg sooner. And now this is a complete stomp. Ultimately, I think B got some solid opening luck, but also just, I guess we'll have to see how coherent the idea is in the back for Unowndragon. I'm guessing based on the amount of para revealed that there could be like a paralysis spreading Mewtwo and a win con Mew. I can't imagine the Mewtwo is the win con on a team so para spread heavy, but it's a T-Wave Mew. So I guess the Mewtwo is the win con. Ultimately, like, I've never really understood why Unowndragon builds these ways, so it could be that I'm totally off base on what's intended to be the win con, but Ultimately, I don't think any win con is going to bail out here except for an Amnesia 2 getting a lot of good luck. Egg getting sacked to the boom. Here comes Mew looking to, I guess, just control something with Swords Dance here. I am really curious what attack Unowndragon loaded on this. I wonder, maybe this is like a EQ boom, no recovery Mew. And the idea is like you've got a few boomers and a couple T-Wavers, and you go for the win with like a more offensive Mewtwo, like a Blizz plus T-Bolt, a Psy Blizz, something like that. I do wonder. And Earthquake there, it's a speed tie, so that suggests maybe T-Wave Earthquake Mew here. So very low pressure team again. Like it seems like maybe the D-Knight was the win con, but if so, why is it coming out that? Okay. Earthquake Explosion. I go back to what I originally said. But hold on. Right here, that's such a bad Earthquake then. Boom kills outright from here. Boom is an OHKO at +2 on like everything that doesn't resist it. Why would you risk this? B's never switching. There's nothing to be afraid of. I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, here we end up with Mewtwo versus Snorlax. B bringing out that signature Amnilax. I think this is risky, and yeah, you're just asking to get crit. So I guess we'll see what B. Okay, that suggests that this is a barrier too, and gets the immediate freeze. This could have, based on this Mewtwo clicking Psychic, I imagine, knowing Unowndragon and his typical brings, this is Ice Beam, Psychic, Recover, Amnesia. Which means this could have very easily just been a freeze war because of B not booming this. I think you have to boom this right away on it and just trust that you land it, and then you have 50-50 at worst. I don't know. I think B maybe mishandled this a bit and let it get out of his hands, but Unowndragon. Why all this support for what's probably an Ice Psychic Mew? I don't think I've ever seen him running Blizzard on Mewtwo's. Maybe like once or twice with Boom. Yeah, once or twice. He's done it before, but it's very rare. So like, what's the win idea here? You've got, this may not even be a T-Wave Dragonite. Maybe it's a Agility Wrap. I don't know. I feel like he just kind of puts these Mewtwo's in that don't do anything, and these Mews in that, like, at least this has Boom, so it does something, but it's still a little do nothing. I don't know how else to explain that. I am curious what B's set is on this Mewtwo, but I am pretty sure of it being Barrier because I just don't think that he would run Amni Ice Psychic Recover. We'll never know. And that's the game. So ultimately, I am chalking this one up to some team building incoherency on Unowndragon's side. I think sometimes the Mons are just getting slotted in that don't synergize well at all. And the idea is like there's not enough support for the different ideas on these teams. They're like trying to go in 3 different directions, but not really effectively going in any of them. And B has been bringing like pretty solid teams, even if I don't agree with some of the ideas, like that Chansey Cloydon stuff. I just don't. Any Blizzbolt thing like Tauros destroys it. Even EQ Bolt Tauros does a lot of damage. Blizzbolt Mewtwo does a lot of damage. Like, if you don't specifically sack this Tauros to sleep, then Executor is going to remove a key piece of this team setup, and then you're going to lose. That's my biggest issue, I think, but also the physical attackers like Fizzlax and T-Bolt Tauros really do a number on it. But ultimately, B's teams were better, B's execution was better, and B won. So congrats to B on putting a win on the board. Long deserved. I think that he could have gotten this last week or the week before with better luck, especially last week. I feel like he really got screwed. But another short match, and I'll see you for the next one.